All right, let's get started. Welcome to Rebuilding Careers. My name is Bonnie Pomish. It is my honor to serve as the CEO of Working Wardrobes, and I am joined here today with one of my favorite souls, Nicole Sudam, the CEO of Orange County Goodwill. Welcome, Nicole.
Thank you for having me.
It's so good to be with you. I remember my first time meeting you and how important a role I learned so quickly that you played in Working Wardrobes history. So I'm so excited to not only share with the community our connection and your experiences, but also how we've done good together organizationally.
I love it. Let's do it.
Yeah. So, Nicole, I'd love to hear from anybody on the podcast. What was their first paycheck story? I think it's so illuminating to learn how where we are today sometimes is completely unrelated to where we started and sometimes very closely related. So,
No,
what's your first paycheck story? What do you remember about it?
I'm so glad I had a chance to reflect on that because my first paycheck story was working for Express, the clothing store at South Coast Plaza. So at the time I was going to Vanguard University in Costa Mesa, and I needed a job, of course, but I hadn't had a paycheck job yet, right? I'd done, babysitting gigs, things like that.
Sure.
But really that first paycheck is, real important.
Yeah.
And got the job, and it was one of my favorite places to shop. So it was like a perfect, hopefully my whole paycheck, I think, kind of went to just buying clothes. But, definitely it was an amazing experience.
Oh my goodness, I love that. Like you're their best customer and you became their probably favorite staff member.
I got a couple other friends hired too. Yeah. And it really was more fun.
Yeah.
But what I loved about that experience is it really taught me about customer service, dealing with difficult customers. And I think you have to do that your whole life, no matter what job you have. Of course, I learned about teamwork, right? And then setting goals, right? Every day, when you arrive to the store for your shift, the manager on duty is telling you the goals and what has to happen and giving you your tasks. So learning how to listen to instructions. But I also had great, supervisors in that job. And so I think it was nice for me to see that how leadership was role modeled in such a positive way.
Wow. I think about those stores and how orderly they always were. And the way that you just shared that sort of discipline of every day showing up with knowing, all right, we're focused. This is what we're going to achieve today. And to be able to take that into your leadership toolkit at such a young age is a pretty powerful lesson.
Yeah, you knew what was expected of you when you walked in the door, and then you went and made it happen, and you had a smile on your face, and it was a lot of fun.
Amazing. Yeah. So let's fast forward, time travel to today. And now today you are bringing a whole slew of skills, talents that you've accumulated into the workforce today. Share with me, how do you contribute special cocktail of you?
Yeah, well, it's ironic that now in my role running Goodwill of Orange County, I run a bunch of thrift stores, retail stores, right? And so it's just funny that I can connect that first job to my job today. But really, it was just this buildup of, from the start of my career, wanting to do jobs that made a difference, that had purpose, that helped people.
Yeah.
That's always been my passion for my career. And I've been doing it now for 28 years. Coming up on 28 years in the service to the nonprofit sector. Yeah. And it started first really building my skills in fundraising and communications, marketing, that area. And then over time, just when you are in a nonprofit long enough, you start taking on other projects. You start being more interested in how the money gets spent, right? Because I got used to reporting to funders on, well, here's why I'm raising the money. Here's what it'll go to. But, really more interested in how you spend the money and the stewardship, because you got to report back to those donors,
right?
What happened, right?
Right.
And so I don't think my skills are in particular unique in terms of, but I think it was something that I was excited to do and I have really enjoyed. And then just, that progression, led me to, my first CEO job at the Second Harvest Food Bank. And that was an organization I worked at in my 20s. And so it was this circling back,
Wow.
right? Being able,
Yeah.
it was an 11-year gap from the time that I started at Second Harvest to the time that I returned back. And then more than 6 years ago, I had an opportunity to return back to Goodwill of Orange County. So I have this like boomerang thing going on. And it just, yeah, I never would have imagined that would have happened, right?
Yeah.
When you start your career, you know, my intention was, you know, to be some place, a nonprofit where I knew I was doing good and helping others. Never would have dreamed in anywhere in my imagination that I would be returning back to these two organizations that really have a passion for. So.
What I love too about the way you described this is this curiosity driving your desire to learn and be of service, and that sort of pairing of I want to really leave a positive footprint, do what I can to make good in the world, and coupling that with your desire to whole picture, really understand the sum of all the parts.
Yeah, I think what's so interesting is something that I really became excited about too in my career journeys is the overall experience of when you're at work, because the ability to help people and to get the job done is also, you know, you have to have this and not so much motivation, but leaders who are guiding you in a way that make that happen, like where you're motivated to do it, you're excited to do it, you understand what's expected, there's this exciting vision. And in some cases I would see kind of occasionally in different times in my career, you know, bad behavior, unkind, you know, just, you know, where the morale would be down. And I always thought to myself, gosh, if I'm in charge someday, I want to be able to create a place where people are excited to come to work, they love what they do, they feel appreciated, they feel valued. And so I became really excited about that. And so I feel like that's something that I really focus on, right? And it's never perfect, right? But yeah, I really want to make sure that everybody in the organization feels a sense of, you know, value, appreciation, and like they're contributing to something that's, you know, really meaningful. And that's something that I just get excited about.
Well, it's also, I think, part of your unique cocktail sauce, which is that you come to the table, every table, with kindness in your heart, the desire to treat people with dignity, the desire to help achieve, like you said, a goal. And that could be, you know, their goal, your goal, the we goal, any of it. It's a beautiful authenticity that you're able to bring, which is that the match is there, right? That you're doing the work that matches who you are.
And how do you bring out, you know, the talents and abilities and the potential in people, right? That's the part that I get excited about is how do you draw that out of people? Because sometimes they don't even know it's there, right? But you're drawing it out and leading them to a path where they can see their potential. And that's the part that excites me.
Yeah. This is, I share this common thread with you so deeply.
I know you do. Yes.
And I think about it, it's so pervasive in the organizations we lead because we get to do it with our staff and with the clients we're serving, right? Like that same potential that we're pulling out of our employees, our volunteers, of each other is that same thing that we do for our clients. At Working Wardrobes, you know, you as an organization, Goodwill just celebrated 100 years of service.
We look pretty good, right?
Oh, at 100. Totally. Well, Working Wardrobes is just turning 35.
Oh,
in fact,
awesome.
Nicole, this is
really
the first podcast that we are recording of our 35th year of service.
Congratulations. That's amazing.
It is, and it's also really special and symbolic to me that this first one that we do together, because again, you chose to use your leadership in a way that could make a positive difference for countless people. And you did that when Working Wardrobes was turning 31.
I think about 30 or 31.
Yeah. And this
because it was 5 years ago.
That's right. That's right. In 2020, preceding the pandemic, as if that wasn't enough and all of those shutdowns, the tragedy that came to Working Wardrobes was we had a decimating fire, and this fire literally burnt to the ground both our donation center and our career success center where we serve clients. I don't want to tell the story for you, Nicole. Will you please share what your perspective, your experience was when you heard this devastating news and what it was that you did to call yourself and your team to action and again, pull that potential back out?
Yeah, so let me go back. It was actually a Sunday morning. I do remember that. I was just getting ready to, have family time with the family, and maybe I was going to church that day. Who knows? It was 5 years ago.
Yeah.
So I woke up and I got a text from one of my staff members who said, Working Wardrobes building caught fire. It looks like everything's gone. And it was informing me of what happened, and I was and it's on the news, sent me a clip, and I was in shock. And then of course immediately, and I tell my husband, I'm like, I said, oh my gosh, how are they gonna serve the people that they need to serve? And then just gut reaction, I texted Jerry. I said, oh my gosh, Jerry at the time, the CEO, I texted her, had her number on my phone, and we had just had we had just met maybe sometime that fall and talked about how, we really needed to, work together more closely. We share so much in the way of mission and clients. And so, we had that conversation, I would say sometime around October, November, and just sort of started establishing our relationship together, knowing that a lot of our staff knew each other. So on the heels of that, right, then this happens. And so I just text her and say, oh my gosh, I hear what happened. I said to her, I have space. I just, in my head, I don't know, it just came to me. I have space if you need it, to be able to, operate quickly, function. And so you don't lose any, momentum. And I said, I can meet you there today. And I think we were there together by, it was either 12 or 1 o'clock that day. So it was a text in the morning. And then I think we got on the phone, in fact. And then I said, I have a building, because we were in the process of getting ready to sell a facility here in Santa Ana. And I thought, well, gosh, the process isn't done yet. There was a lot of work in between that. So it would just be really empty.
Yeah.
And so it was Jerry and some of our team members. And, literally I'm showing them, here's the office you could use. Here's the warehouse you could use. I don't know. It just happened so fast. Right.
Yeah.
And then she called me that afternoon. She goes, we're going to have a press conference. Are you good if we do it at the building? And literally the next morning, there was a press conference in the front of the building, right? I think a sign like this was there. Jerry shared what happened. The media was there, a lot of people in the community. And it was, and what I loved is that I started contacting my team. I'm like, hey, they're going to need to collect donations, or, they need a forklift, they need pallets, they need, pallet jacks, like all the things, right? And they need computers. So
everything, literally everything.
The team at Goodwill, like, it was like, all I did was like make a few phone calls and text messages, and they were like on it. Like, I didn't, the IT team was at the office getting the team set up. And then I had people bringing office supplies. And then, it was, I was even like, wow, I started it, but my team really did it. Right. Like, it was, and my husband always likes to say, when there's a crisis, I don't run away from it. I like to run to it. And so I think that's something that maybe is just unique to me. Like, I, for whatever reason, a crisis like, activates me in a way of like, okay, what needs to happen? Let's get it done. Right. Like, I don't typically, maybe I'm a little bit panicked inside sometimes, but it's more of and I think there's, for me at least, a part of my faith that really activates, right? Like, where I feel a sense that God is calling me to do something. And so I just obey that call and I do it.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. That is such a beautiful way to walk through the world. And I think, again, kind of putting myself in your shoes, putting myself in Jerry's shoes, what a vulnerable time and place to be in, right? To really have lost everything, and for you to make that overture of, it doesn't have to stop. We can go forward. And then for your team, this kind of goes back to what you were describing about the culture you build and the way you invest in people, that they also trust your judgment and they know that this is what needs to be done to support the community, and almost as an extension really of your own mission.
Yeah, it is. And I think it's part of the core values at Goodwill, right? Our core values to be kind, to be honest, to be helpful, and to be creative. And so they were activating kindness and helpfulness,
Yeah, and creativity.
in such a positive way, right?
Yeah.
And it was, I think for the team, they also felt good that, because, we share, the mission of, helping people get back to work, helping people, build careers. And so it's important that, and there's not, enough of us doing this work, right? There's a lot of people who need this help. And so it's like, we can't have Working Wardrobes lose momentum at all. And so it was just remarkable. I felt like actually that, the team at Working Wardrobes was able to like get stronger faster. And thank goodness you created that momentum, because then you had the pandemic to contend with, right? Like,
Right.
So it was just an interesting time, but
To say the least.
but just a beautiful way. The community really came together, for your team. It was beautiful to see so many companies and individuals step up. And like the next day, the donation center, right, was just, I think you collected that whole warehouse. It was a 10,000 square foot warehouse. The whole warehouse was filled like that.
Wow.
Within days. I mean, it was remarkable.
I remember Jerry sharing with me that there would be lines, like cars lined up around the block to make donations. And Nicole, I thank you deeply, profoundly, again and again, because these are foundation blocks. Life happens in these moments, and that call to action that you answered, I think it's the same call to action that Jerry answered to create Working Wardrobes. It's the same kind of calling that is in our every interaction, our every opportunity. I feel also like this fire created a barrier, an obstacle for the organization to overcome.
Yeah.
And very similar to our clients, it's like organizationally, we know now what it's like to have a situational crisis and to have people extend a hand up. We often talk about this is a very sacred, vulnerable space to enter with people when you are, down and out. To be in that is hard enough. To not know who to trust, where to go, what to do, and to have people, organizations be able to rally around you. We know what that's like, Nicole, because of you and your team. So thank you so much for coming to our aid.
Happy to do it. It's like you have a responsibility, right, when you're a leader in the community, to always do what's right. And we were happy to do it.
Yeah. See why I love this lady? Well, kind of taking that and parlaying it into our own lives, what would you do, Nicole, if you needed to rebuild your career? Like if something happened that was, in the majors, right?
Yeah.
What would you do to start over?
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the ways I would do that is, I think all of us in life have at least one either friend or mentor, right? Somebody who I would lean on. And so it would be, if things came crashing down, right? And, I would have my go-to, call a friend and have that, a person that is going to listen to you and really lift you up. And then once you get through the, that pain, then I think it would be, okay, now let's get to work, right? Like, what does your resume look like? Are you networking with the right people? Are you talking to the right people? And I talk to people who are in this situation all the time, whether it's a Goodwill program participant or even just people in the community who are looking for work. And you're right. It is a vulnerable time. I think, people have this doubt, and they, feeling like, wow, am I even valued? Right.
Right.
And so I think I feel this sense of responsibility to lift them up and to say, okay, where can I, hey, if you see somebody in my LinkedIn that I know and you're looking for a job there, like, let me make the connection. Right. And I'm sure you do this every single day too. And so I guess my go-to would be a friend or mentor, somebody in my life that I know I trust that would lift me up and then be able to tell me, okay, let's get to work now. Let's find, let's look at your resume. Let's look at your network and begin from
Yeah.
there, right?
Yeah.
It's, I think that would be incredibly hard, but you just, I think having somebody to uplift you is really important.
What I love too about this is that both of our organizations are that person for people in that situation, right?
Exactly.
And I love the idea that, I don't know, not to anthropomorphize the organization, but I kind of sometimes refer to Working Wardrobes as a her. I'm not sure why. But like she's here to help, right?
Yes.
And like she's the friend that you can phone.
Yes. I
So
like that.
be the other line of the phone, Nicole. And I've got a client who is looking to rebuild their career. What advice would you share with them? What would you say to them?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think what I would tell people is that, you may not believe in yourself right now, but there are people who do believe in you, right? And I think it's really important to lean on that when you're in this situation, because it takes time to build the confidence. And so I think for, organizations like Working Wardrobes and Goodwill, we are, like you said, that friend for people, and we believe in people, and we have to like constantly believe in them until they can believe in themselves. So I think my encouragement to somebody would be, we believe in you. You have the skills, the talents, and you have the potential, like, and we're going to get you there. And that's what we do every single day. I mean, I see it. And I love to see it. We have team members who are working directly with program participants, just like you, and what they do to build people up and to get them to the point of, recognizing their value and their potential is really beautiful. I'll tell you a quick story. We have a young woman who works at one of our retail stores, a newer store we opened last year. And she's a single mom with 3 children, and she never had an opportunity to finish her high school diploma. So she works at Goodwill in, an hourly position. Obviously, it's probably not enough money, right, for everything she needs, but it is that opportunity to get her a foundation started. And she joined our Career Pathways program to get extra coaching. And so we have this career navigator that works with her, and they, did an assessment, a plan. And her goal is to become store manager, right? Which is, I think, would be a game changer for her in terms of like career development.
Sure.
But her first step is to get her high school diploma. And so she's on the path to do that. She should be finishing sometime soon. And I just think it's so, beautiful, because she really needed to lean on us for that belief and that to know, wow, you have potential. And you're going to be such a great role model to your children now. And I just think those are the types of stories we get to see every day, which, they're really beautiful.
Heidi Zuckerman said something to me once, and I repeat it often because it really summarizes what you just said so well. And I see it so just deeply every day. And it's like this basic human needs. What do humans really need? And we need to be seen, loved, heard. Right. And that's, you gave her all of that. Like, I see you, I believe in you, I hear you in your play, and we've got you. You've got this.
Exactly. Yeah, she actually shared her story in front of our board of directors, which is an incredibly hard thing to do, right? Like, we do public speaking all the time, and it's still hard for us sometimes, right? And to have somebody who doesn't do this, but she felt like she could share, it was brave, and she did such a beautiful job. So I stopped her after, and I'm like, that was like beautiful what you shared. Like, she shared, her goals, her heart, her journey. And I just, said a few positive things to her about how proud I am of her. And she emailed me the very next day. She's like, thank you for believing in me. Right. And that she goes, now I'm even more motivated. Right. To get to achieve my goals. And I just thought, gosh, it didn't take anything for me to do that. Right. But there's so much power in sharing, how you believe in people. And I think we all have the power to do that. And I think it's incredibly important that we recognize that every day.
Well, and do something about it, right? Like, and seize those opportunities.
Exactly.
Well, I'm going to flip the script on you now, because you are sharing really how you made this, if you will, investment in her, right? And this was a bit of imparting wisdom, imparting advice. Will you share what you would, maybe, if you could, impart to your younger self? If there are so many lessons we learn, right? You get to this place of like, what do you wish you had known?
It's interesting because now I have 2 daughters. I have
Ooh, there's a mirror.
yeah, I have one's almost 20 and the other one will be 17 this year. And so we're kind of at this stage in life where I can now impart, I don't, hopefully they listen, but I can now impart, say, gosh, if I could do it over again, here are the things I would do. And I think, one of the biggest ones I tell Lauren, who's going to be 20 and she's in her sophomore year of college, I said, I would get your mentor now and start having the career conversations with people now, because I didn't do that in college. I was doing a lot of volunteer work and campaigns and things that built my network and helped me, be able to get my first job. But it wasn't an intentional career journey. I was like, and I think part of that is I didn't grow up in a household with a professional. I grew up with my mom being a single mom, and she had hourly jobs, and she never had an opportunity to go to college. So I didn't have anybody role modeling that for me, but Lauren does. And so now I get to share that. I also, just share with her the need to save, right? To start that retirement. I said, the minute you get that first job out of college, like, even if it's a little bit of money every paycheck, like, or 1%, like, just start. Because I waited until I was about 30 to really be intentional about saving for retirement. And I just thought, gosh, if I would have started like 8-9 years before, imagine, right? Compounding effect, right? So I always say that. And then just but I think a big part, for and also I always say to her, don't be afraid to fail, right? Like we're not gonna always, I think sometimes we're afraid to do things because we think we might fail. And I think that was a big part of even me taking this job at Goodwill. I thought, oh gosh, it's too big. What if I fail? That was like one of my first things. Like, I'm doing fine where I'm at. I'm still growing. I'm still learning. Like, why would I want to take that on? Right. And I thought, no. And then I had so many people talk about telling you potential. I had so many mentors actually say to me, you're ready, go for it, or you'll never be perfectly ready, but go for it. Right. And I believe in you. I had one mentor say that to me, and it meant the world. It meant the world. And it did motivate me to say, okay, well, maybe I can do this. Right. So we need those people in our life.
Oh, big time. Those are beautiful lessons. And I'm sort of going to go back a second to the 1%, and you're talking about savings investment, but I think also the wisdom that you're imparting can also be a part of, I love this James Clear concept, right? Like 1% improvements daily. Because they compound like interest. And if you invest in these small improvements, then at the end of the year, you've got a 37% improvement versus if you got 1% worse at something, it's only 7% worse over the course of the year.
I mean, I think the other thing I would say to, my younger self, and I say to myself even today, get really comfortable being uncomfortable.
Ooh,
right. I think that is where true growth happens. And
for sure,
the moments where I've stretched myself, where I'm like, I'm not really sure exactly how to do this, but I'll figure it out along the way. And then I can look back and be like, wow, I'm really glad I took that leap, because I wouldn't have grown like I've grown had I not. So
I think that is actually like a universal truth, that on the other side of obstacle is that achievement, but you can't experience the achievement without the obstacle, without the discomfort, without, as you said, going through it.
And it's scary, right?
Of course.
It's scary, but you have to just go for it. The other one of the other quotes I love is don't let perfect be the enemy of good, right? Like, always reminding myself of that, like, just go do.
I'm appreciating that on a really personal note, because I refer to myself often as a recovering workaholic and a recovering perfectionist. And I take that seriously.
We share that.
Probably not that big of a surprise, right? And it's this idea that I just have to constantly sort of remind myself that if I'm doing my best, there will always even be areas for improvement, and to embrace that, like, good enough. I love all of the wisdom that you're sharing, Nicole, and I feel like it's such an accumulation. Is there
There's so much more to learn, right?
Always.
But it's, yeah, it's fun to be able to have the, my daughters to be able to share this with, to be like, okay, maybe they'll listen. And seeing, my daughter Lauren actually start doing the things I'm recommending is really fun. And
She is listening.
and then my daughter Hannah has an interview today for a volunteer position, and, wants my help getting ready for the interview, right? So those are fun things.
Yeah. Full circle.
Yeah.
Well, before we wrap, do you have any, I mean, you've shared so much wonderful wisdom. Any final parting words of wisdom before we wrap?
Gosh, just, I just love what you do, Bonnie, to uplift everybody in the community, and you're just spirit of joy. Like, you always are shining bright, and I just appreciate you and our partnership and how we work together to serve the community.
Oh, cool. Thank you. Adoringly, she's making me cry. This has been one of my faves episodes of Rebuilding Careers. Thank you for joining Nicole and I. And Nicole, thank you again for being a part of creating Working Wardrobe's history as we celebrate our 35th year of service to the community. That's a wrap.
Absolutely. Thank you.